Hello and welcome to Media Law and Ethics, a class. Today we are going to discuss about the law of breach of confidence. As you know, no one has the right to infringe into a private property, to a private personality. That's why this law of breach of confidence is aimed at protecting individuals' privacy or else individuals' personal data. There's no way you can just wake up and you start infringing someone's property, someone's private information. That's why this law of breach of confidence prohibits or else prevents people from infringing into others' rights. It can be a right of an individual, or else can be a right of an institution, or else a right of an organization. So in ICM, the most common question that is set under the law of breach of confidence, we talk about the offenses of breach of confidence or the elements of breach of confidence. We talk about the defenses of breach of confidence and the remedies of breach of confidence. So today we are going to discuss about the main elements of the law concerning a breach of confidence. And we have three main elements of the law of breach of confidence. And the first elements of the breach of confidence, whereby the information has necessary quality of confidentiality. If you are seeking, let's say, for a law to prevent people from publishing information, or else to prohibit others from publication of information, you have to prove to the court of law that the information has necessary quality of confidentiality, which means in the rightful thinking members of the society, or else before the presiding judge or the jury, the information is automatically supposed to be treated as secretive as possible. Or else the information is supposed to be treated as confidential as possible, which means, for example, let's say your personal data concerning your certifications, or else information concerning if you are having title deeds, or else you are having bankers checks. This is information that requires personal privacy. That's why the presiding judge or the court must be able to justify that indeed the information you want to seek for confidentiality has necessary quality of confidentiality. So you are saying that the information has necessary quality of confidentiality, and you must be able to justify this before the court of law by proving that indeed the information that you are seeking protection has adequate or necessary quality of confidentiality in the rightful thinking members of the society. Then the second element concerning the law of breach of confidence, the information was imparted in circumstances that imposes an obligation of confidence. By this one, we mean that the way the information was packaged, the way the information was filed together, in the rightful thinking members of the society, this information is supposed to remain as secretive as possible. Or is supposed to remain as confidential as possible. And for you to be able to justify that indeed the information was imparted in circumstances that imposes an obligation of confidentiality, you must be able to prove that indeed there was an agreement between the two parties, or is agreement between two individuals. And during the agreement, we say that this information is going to be confided between only the two parties, between you as the confider and the other person we call the confidant. So under this particular point, it can be categorized, it can be in form of an agreement. It can be an agreement between a private employee and maybe the employer, whereby when you're seeking for a contract or an employment contract, you must be able to say that indeed you are going to maintain the secrecy of the company or the secrecy of the organization. So concerning private employees, there is a contract that are going to sign as an employee, and under this particular contract, you are going indeed to sign by saying that you are going to maintain the secrecy of the company or of the information to be confident as possible without exposing the members of the public or to other members of the society. Alright, the same can apply to government employees. For example, you are working in the Ministry of Defense, or else you are working in the Ministry of Tourism, or else Ministry of Industrialization. Under this particular obligation, this whereby if a government employee are not supposed to expose the government secrets to the members of the public or the members of the press. There's no way you can wake up and start exposing the information concerning the government secrets to the members of the public or to the members of the media. Then you have a relationship between the confider and confidant, whereby two people come together and sign an agreement and they say that this information is going to remain as secretive as possible. You are not supposed to go and expose this particular information to the members of the public or members of the press. And this one can apply to a relationship between a husband and wife. Matters concerning husband and wife are supposed to be treated as confidential as possible. There is no one party that is supposed to go and expose what is happening in the matrimonial house, the members of the public or the members of the media. So it's supposed to remain as secretive as possible. If someone happened to get exposed like information, he's supposed to be sued in the court of law for breaching the law of confidentiality. The same relationship can apply between doctor and patient. The information between a doctor and a patient is supposed to be treated as confidential as possible. There's no way a doctor can get exposed what the patient is suffering from to the members of the public or to the members of the press without the consent of the patient himself. So if you're a doctor or else you're working in the doctoral department, you must be able to seek for a consent from the patient before you expose such like information to the media or the members of the public. So let's say the patient doesn't want you to expose the information, you cannot go and force or else expose the information without his permission. The same can apply to a relationship between a priest and a parishioner. Between a priest and a parishioner can go to a priest. Maybe this applies more so to Catholic Church. If you are, for example, you are a priest and maybe someone come and confess his sins to you, and maybe you happen to get exposed what he told you in secret, the members of the public, you are going to be sued for breach of law of confidence. So the priest must always maintain the secret information that was given by the parishioner. Whereas, if you want to expose like information, you must get a consent or a permission from the parishioner before you expose it to the members of the public or the members of the press. The same applies to a client, relationship between the lawyer and the client. When you are having, for example, a lawyer who is interrogating a client, they are going to expose hidden information between two of them. And you as a lawyer, you are not supposed to expose the information that you are given by the client, the members of the public or the members of the press. Whereas you will be sued for breaching the law of confidentiality. So if a client happens to give you information concerning the case that is supposed to be presided over in the court of law, you are not supposed to go and expose that particular secretive information to members of the public or members of the press. If you happen to do so, you are going to be sued for breaching the law of confidence. The same can apply to relationship between media and their sources. Media practitioners or journalists are not supposed to expose the identity of the sources of the information if indeed they requested for anonymity. If let's say, for example, you are interrogating someone, interviewing someone, and he is willing to give you information and he requests that you are not supposed to give his true identity, then you as a journalist, you are supposed to keep it as secretive as possible. You are not supposed to expose the image or the true identity of someone who gives information if he requested for anonymity, or else if he requested that his identity be hidden from the members of the press or members of the public at large. So we said the first element is the information has necessary quality of confidentiality. You must be able to justify that before the court of law. Number two, say that the information was imparted in circumstances that imposes an obligation of confidentiality. And we have talked about the circumstances that imposes obligation of confidentiality. In the exam, you can be asked maybe to highlight or explain circumstances that imposes an obligation of confidence. And these are the circumstances which imposes an obligation of confidence. You say that we have agreement between private employees and government employees. It can apply to a relationship between a confider and a confidant. And under confider and confidant, we have talked about relationship between husband and wife, relationship between doctor and patient, between priest and the parishioner, between the media and their sources, or between the lawyer and the client. These are circumstances which imposes an obligation of confidentiality. And you as a media practitioner, as a media personnel, you are not supposed to expose the true identity of these members if indeed they are requesting for anonymity. Then the third element of breach of confidence is what you call there has been or there will be an obligation of confidence. Whereas someone happened to access this particular information, and out of the access of information, the person who accessed information breached the law of confidentiality. When we talk about that, breach means violated. He violated the law of confidentiality. So we talk about there has been, which means initially someone got access to this particular information. There has been, someone got access to the information previously, and he violated that particular information. Alright, that particular right of accessing your confidential information. There has been or there will be an obligation of confidence, which means someone is going to breach the law of confidentiality if you happen to expose or to give him your secretive information. So you have to justify before the court of law that indeed the reason why I'm seeking for an obligation of confidence is because initially someone got access to this particular information and he violated this particular information. And the probability that he's going to violate the information again is still very, very high. So in the exam, if you ask about the elements of breach of confidence, you are saying that we have three main elements of breach of confidence. Number one, the information has lesser quality of confidentiality. You have to justify that. Number two, the information was imparted in circumstances that imposes an obligation of confidence. And number three, you are saying that there has been or there will be breach of confidentiality if indeed this information is exposed to the members of the public. Thank you for your time. I hope you are able to contextualize and understand the elements of breach of confidence. Let's meet next time at the same place.